In this video, we aim to explore the test strategy, the QA tasks undertaken, the testing methodologies applied, the encountered challenges, and the outcomes achieved in a project involving both ERP and e-commerce systems. The ERP system had been fully developed, whereas the e-commerce system was still under development at the project's commencement. The client expressed the need for testing the e-commerce system upon its completion. Consequently, the project adhered to a waterfall development model. Focusing on the domains, the ERP system served as the backend, overseeing operations such as manufacturing, purchasing, sales, CRM, finance, project, and quality management. User access to modules and features within the ERP system was segregated based on specific roles. On the other hand, the e-commerce site functioned as the front-end website, facilitating interactions with customers. The initial phase involved the identification and analysis of requirements for both the ERP and e-commerce systems. Collaboration with stakeholders was crucial for gathering and clarifying these requirements. In cases where the requirements were well documented, such as in tools like Jira, we thoroughly reviewed the existing documentation. The first challenge we faced was the unavailability of requirements or outdated requirements. Therefore, additional efforts were required to identify and analyze the requirements before proceeding with the subsequent QA tasks. To address this challenge, we got demos for each module, prioritizing them based on the client's business priorities. Commencing QA tasks followed the same prioritization. All clarifications were meticulously documented in a Q&A sheet, outlining the details of the clarified points. This sheet was then shared in a collaborative drive to ensure visibility. Value additions. Certain clarifications resulted in change requests and highlighted previously overlooked aspects of the requirements. These insights proved valuable in refining the project's understanding and execution. Developing a detailed test plan outlining the scope, objectives, resources, schedule, and deliverables was the next step after having sound knowledge of the applications. What types of testing need to be conducted, entry and exit criteria of each testing type, tools that we can use to manage test artifacts and bugs, communication channels, the format of the test deliverables such as test cases, bug reports, and summary reports were discussed and finalized in this stage. As the output, functional, and integration testing types were planned for the ERP system. Functional, integration, compatibility, and usability testing types were planned for the e-commerce system. Before the systems were deployed to production, UAT support was agreed upon. Jira was taken as the test case and bug management tool. Progress reports were planned to be shared fortnightly. Test environment. A separate test environment was requested with a basic data setup for master data for finance, accounting, and stock adjustments. The very initial master data setup was requested due to lack of source documents, and to avoid unnecessary bugs. As the entire developed systems were available, smoke testing for both applications was conducted and bugs were communicated as soon as possible. Before starting smoke testing, a smoke checklist was prepared for each feature of the applications. We could identify some critical bugs like showstoppers even though the developer's unit testing was completed. All the bugs were communicated with necessary screencasts, screenshots, and the details of steps to reproduce. The challenge we faced here was the bugs were communicated to the QAs verbally. There were no versioned release notes. Some partially fixed bugs affected the other integrated features. Therefore, a few smoke testing rounds were conducted to ensure the functionality of the main features. As a solution, we suggested the development team to give a release note with the details of bug fixes and a release version. I could say that it was an improvement we did for their SDLC, too. Value additions. Conducting this testing type at this early stage was helpful for the client. It was beneficial for us too because we also did not face idle time. We moved to the test case designing phase until they fixed the bugs. The priority goes to testing the ERP system. According to the discussed priority, functional and integration test designing started with the stock, finance, and manufacturing modules. Before starting test case designing, mind maps were designed to identify all possible test combinations to ensure coverage. The designed mind maps were shared with the respective module owners to get their feedback. The test cases were derived based on the mind maps. Test cases were prioritized as high, medium, and low. They were categorized based on the different testing types. The regression test suite was also identified in the same flow. The test cases for comparison testing were identified based on the past industry experience of the team. Compatibility and usability test cases were designed separately. We faced a few challenges in this phase. The delay in clarifying some pending doubt points affects the status of the test design. Test designing was done merely based on the identified requirements from the demos and industry experience of the team. Complex ERP features had to be addressed in that way. As a solution, we clarified most of the doubt points during the demos. ERP expertise QAs were allocated to work on test designing and testing. Peer reviews were done with each other to make sure the test coverage. Value additions. Well-designed test cases helped the development team conduct their own testing rounds before giving a release. It helped avoid careless bugs, and finally, it helped give stable releases. It saves QA time, too. Severity-based testing was conducted. High, medium, and then low severity test cases were executed. Test statuses were managed under different statuses. Failed test cases were mapped with the bugs. Test rounds were versioned with the test results. Compatibility and usability testing were conducted after completing functional and integration testing. It was considered as so based on the entry and exit criteria given in the test plan. Numerous challenges arose during this phase, yet corresponding solutions were also identified. Some bug fixes affected the already tested features. As a solution, only the critical and showstopper bug fixes were accepted when a testing round was going on. Impacted areas were tested after discussing with the development team. The rest of the bugs were taken with the next test rounds to keep the stability of the system. With those bug fixes, impacted areas were tested thoroughly. Conducting testing for an e-commerce domain that is rapidly changing with new features, trends, and new technologies was another challenge. To overcome this challenge, we took several solutions. Identifying the workarounds, improvements, and missing or outdated features according to the industry's best practices was prioritized for e-commerce testing apart from finding bugs. Verifying the integration of payment gateways is critical for seamless and secure financial transactions. Therefore, testing was covered with various payment methods, refund processes, and error handling. E-commerce platforms often involve complex inventory and order management systems. Therefore, testing was covered to confirm accurate product listings, inventory updates, and proper order processing. With the increasing use of mobile devices for online shopping, the website's responsiveness was tested across various screen sizes and devices. Testing was covered with different browsers, operating systems, and devices to ensure a consistent user experience. Evaluating the website's UI and UX to ensure it is intuitive, user-friendly, and provides a positive shopping experience was another solution we gave for usability coverage. Payment gateway integration and inventory and order management are other key areas we thoroughly tested make sure the test coverage. Even though some performance and security aspects need to be considered, we were not involved with these two testing types. The other challenge was that access to the ERP system was segregated among many user types. As a solution, a metric was prepared for the access permission of each user type. Multiple accounts were used accordingly to conduct the testing. Value additions. Due to the severity-based testing approach, the QA team could escalate high-severity bugs first. It helps keep the stability of the system. Avoiding multiple releases keeps the testing stable. As the impacted areas of bug fixes were identified, there were no untested features. With the solutions discussed, we successfully addressed the challenges, resulting in a comprehensively tested application across various aspects. Critical bugs and showstoppers were communicated to the development team as soon as possible via the communication channel before logging the bug. Apart from that, all the bugs were logged with supportive details such as screencasts, screenshots, and the details of steps to reproduce. Bugs were categorized as critical, high, medium, and low. Types of bugs are also categorized according to the different aspects of testing. Bugs were managed according to the release version. There were unexpected bugs in the compatibility testing. As an example, the feature that worked in a particular version of iOS did not work in another iOS version. Lots of bug management extended the testing phase. As a solution, the devices, OSs, and browsers that had past bug history were thoroughly tested without limiting to smoke testing when there was a new release. Value additions. Proactively communicating bugs, testing the bug fixes with impacted areas, and managing the bugs with versions helped all the teams bring a flawless application. Summary reports were prepared with test statistics and metrics after a particular test round. The report was shared with the stakeholders. To give more clarity, test statistics were taken from each module and different testing types. Value additions. The testing status was measurable and visible to the leadership after each test round due to this approach. Thanks for your time. Visit our website or contact us for more details.